Welcome to Reckless Paradise, everyone. I am your host, Marissa, and I'm here with my co host, Dystro. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Happy Thursday, everybody. It is now the final episode of the month, and it's also our final episode as a duo together. I know, I've been dreading this day. I won't lie, I have been dreading this day because, my mind has been filled with so much anxiety on doing solo episodes from now on. It's like, okay, I hope it works out on his end, but then I'm like, I hope it works out on my end too. It's like, it's not gonna feel the same, because I'm gonna feel like I'm talking to myself.
Same here.
But maybe
But
it's a good thing this is happening though, because it'll give us like more of a wider creative range for each other.
mm,
At least the show ain't going away.
no, because it's like we've invested so much time into this and stuff. Want it to go away and just feather off into the ether and be like, you know what? Those were good times. But
Oh my goodness.
it's um, it's kind of bittersweet to say that this is the final duo episode that we're doing together after 2 years.
Yeah. And honestly, out of the 2 years that we've been working together on the show, we've only missed one episode, and that was because of a issue that was out of everybody's control. My cell tower went down last summer for a couple nights, and we could not record. Like we literally could not record for nothing. So, um, and it wasn't one of those situations where you could do the episode by yourself because you needed me for that one. So
Hmm.
that's not bad. Out of the 2 years we've been doing this together, we've only missed one episode.
Yeah.
But I think we'll be all right. Honestly, I think it's just going to take some adjusting, some tweaking, even. No matter what, we're still working together outside of the show, but we're still producing content for the show just separately on separate episodes.
For sure.
Also, is your mic plugged in all the way?
It should be, yes.
Okay, because you sound a little wonky. I don't know what it is.
I think
Could be
it's
my
like
end.
this.
All right, so without a further ado, thank you all for joining tonight's episode. We hope you enjoy. So this is going to be a little bit of a complicated episode. So just this past spring, we just ran through the rest of the Blink 182 side projects, starting with Angels and Airwaves. That was a 6 week journey, 6 albums. I'm going to be completely honest, this was probably the least successful pilgrimage we've had to date.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, a good chunk of these albums weren't the greatest, but there were at least two albums that really took the cake here, which we'll get to. So, this episode, we are going to be first going over all six Angels and Airwaves albums, ranking them worst to best. Then, we're going to move on to our top 10 Angels and Airwaves songs, picked individually, obviously, individual lists, individual choices. And then at the very end, we're going to briefly talk about Boxcar Racer and Plus 44. Both of them have each one album apiece, and we're going to briefly talk about those as well because we did listen to them, and we're going to choose which one we prefer over the other. So,
Mhm.
without further ado, let's jump into the Angels and Airways album ranking list. So we did this pilgrimage in order, in a chronological order, starting with debut album with We Don't Need to Whisper from '06, going all the way to modern day stuff with Life Forms from 2021. That was 3 years ago since we've last heard anything from Angels and Airwaves. So what we have here is all six albums ranked from worst to best, starting at number six, working our way to number one. May I remind you, we do not look at each other's lists before we record. Well, that'll end after tonight's episode because we have to look
Mhm.
at each other's lists after this. So let's get into this. So at number six, which album did you not like the most?
I would put Love Part Two.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll explain why though. I'll
I
explain
put Love Part One.
why. Okay. So for me with Love Part Two, I think wholeheartedly it's a little bit more better than Love Part One, but I guess I just didn't feel the vibe that was going on during that because mind you, Love Love's Part 1 and 2 on Spotify, they were all one thing.
Right, but we
So,
did split them in half and do
yeah,
one part one night, one part the other night.
yeah. Um, I think maybe, to me at least, like Love Part 1 had just a little bit more songs than Love Part 2, because I only
Right.
know like maybe like two or three from Love Part 2, whereas like I maybe like know like maybe three or four from Part 1.
Whereas with me on part one, I didn't care for any of the songs at all. I was not crazy for part one at all. And it's rare when I find an album where I don't like any of the songs. This was one of those rare cases where I didn't like any of the tracks on Love Part 1.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe we'll revisit it someday, but not now. But all right, so at number 5, I have the Dreamwalker here.
This is where I put Love Part 1.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
I'm gonna go ahead and talk about mine really quickly. I really found the Dreamwalker to be a very strange album.
well,
It
yeah,
kind of
fair enough.
like had a very different sound. It was more spacey. Like I like spacey, but this was too spacey. You know what I mean? It's like it's a little weird. However, one of my favorite songs is on that album, so I will give it that. I do like a couple songs on that album. So
Right.
I will give it that, and the album art is really, really cool. I actually really think it's colorful. But
Yeah.
other than that, not super on board with that album at all. But what do you have to say about Love Part 1?
Mhm. I think, like I said in the previous segment, um, I think Love Part 1 for me had like just a little bit more some songs on it, like three or four that I liked. Because I think there's some of them that are on my list that I have that I had thought about. I was like, okay, because I think I had listened to like some like songs here and there from Part 1 and then Part 2, but I think Part 1 as a whole for me it's just like it has like just a little bit more value to it. I mean, it's still not a good album, but um but yeah, it's just like both Love Parts 1 and 2, like it's just was not really it to me.
Yeah, it just didn't really click.
Mm-mm.
So on to number 4. What do you have?
This is where I put the Dreamwalker.
Okay, and I put Love Part 2 here. There is a reason why. So with Love Part 2, I actually liked a few songs. Excuse me. I got fucking hiccups. Don't mind me. So with Love Part 2, I remember the closing track, We Are All That We Are. I remember that one, and I thought it was really cool. I thought it was actually a really good closing track from
Mhm.
Angels and Airwaves. That, and then The Revelator, which I also remember, that song was pretty good as well. So that one kind of gave me more of a higher value just because I actually liked more songs from that album. So,
Right. Okay. For me with the Dreamwalker, I kind of had to go off like what you said. Like it was like, yeah, it was more spacey, but I kind of liked some songs from that because like I'm open to anything. Like I'm open to like spacey stuff. Like I don't care. Um, I thought to me like because like every time that we go into an album and stuff, I always go in with an open mind every time. But it's like this one, I was like, okay, like I didn't really care for it, but there were some songs that I was like, okay, it's not at the bottom of the barrel, but it's like right in the middle, sort of thing.
right.
It's not, I don't like it, but I like it, sort of thing. It's like a love hate. It's like a love hate relationship.
All right, so on to our top 3. Rolling right along here at number 3. What do you have?
I put we don't need to whisper.
Really? Okay. I put Life Forms here, the recent album. I'm going to be honest, Life Forms wasn't bad. And I think we
Mm-hmm.
ended on a pretty good note. It kind of sounds more like it doesn't sound like um the Dreamwalker or even Love Parts 1 and 2. It has its own spin. Like I feel like it has like a pop vibe to it, like a modern day pop vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like playful. Like a song that we just heard the other night on MTV Night, Losing My Mind. I freaking love that song. It's so like groovy and just like really poppy. Like, and I'm usually not the one to like poppy stuff, but this one's not bad, honestly. I'm not gonna knock it. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah. I'm yawning over here. It's like it's not even 10 o'clock yet. Like what the fuck?
So we don't
uh,
need to whisper debut album, man. What'd you think about
yeah.
that?
Like I'm not gonna lie. Like there's some songs I like from debut album, but the next one that I have for number two, it just by like a hair, like by a hair. It was like very close because I went back and forth on "We Don't Need to Whisper" and "Life Forms" for
Mm.
the two spot, and I was like, I hate myself doing that. I'm like, okay, like it doesn't matter really. But it's like it's just based on like my enjoyment from it. I I liked debut album, but it just didn't really, I guess, sit well with me, sort of thing. I mean, plus it's like, yeah, it's Tom's new group, and it's like, yeah, it's like it's a new group, so it's like, what sound are they gonna pop out, sort of thing. And I guess I wasn't really just ready for it to be like that, to be honest with you. I guess. Um, it's not a bad album either. It's
No.
like it's just like okay, it was like tied for life forms. I was just like, okay, I had to put life forms somewhere. So
So that's your number two.
yeah, life forms is my
So
number
we
two.
kind of flip flopped. I put We Don't Need to Whisper at number two because I love that album. That album was a really good introduction into Angels and Airwaves. Like by far one of the best songs that they've ever written is The Adventure. Like you go back and watch the music video, like look at Tom. Like that fucking hair. Holy crap. Yeah, that song is like one of their bigger hits, The Adventure, and like how could you not like that song? That song's fucking good. Um,
Mhm.
but there's a couple other ones I really liked on there, but I will save that for my top 10 songs list because I think a couple of them did make the list.
Yeah, a few from I think majority of mine was from like debut and second album.
So you liked Life Forms, huh?
I thought it was not bad.
Yeah.
It was not bad at all. Like I was like, okay, like I had to go in like I always try to set my expectations low, so it's like I'm not like setting myself up for like failure or anything. But I was actually pretty impressed with life forms, to be honest with you. Uh, it's like yeah, it's like it's that the current album sort of thing. Plus, I'm usually like a person that is always into like some pop music, but not a lot. And like you said with like MTV Night with the video that we saw, um, I was like, okay, well, okay, I guess just made it my number two album then. I guess so.
So
So we
that
have the exact
means we
same
have
one.
the exact same number one. Yeah. With I Empire, their sophomore album. Probably, in my opinion, I think it would be their best selling album to date.
Oh yeah, far none.
That lineup is so good. Like that whole lineup, like the whole band lineup is just so good at that moment. Like that album is like by far one of the best albums I've ever heard, like so far this year. Like that album is so freaking good. Like I had like a good chunk of those songs on repeat for the longest time over the spring.
Yeah, and plus like Secret Crowds is like one of their like
Oh,
popular hits
that was
too.
my first Angels and Airwaves song actually. Secret Crowds, like oh my god, like I remember when we were like I think we were like just wrapping up like one more time from Blink from last year.
Hmm.
Uh, I'd like decided to take a little snoop around on YouTube and see, what Angels and Airwaves has to offer. And I listened to Secret Crowds. I'm like, whoa, like wow, okay, this is definitely Tom DeLonge. Like this is not Blink. Like it's
Hmm.
so different from Blink. It's crazy, but it's a good different.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like I like with I Empire and all stuff. It's like I thought it was like, it beat Life Forms like by a country miles sort of thing. And I was
Yeah,
just like, because like when we both finished I Empire, we're like, wow, like that
that's
was life
good. Like
changing. It was like
we knew that album was gonna be like somewhere at the top
top, yeah.
right off the bat, and then we were only two albums in at that point. And we're like, yeah, this is a good album. This is
Like
really really good.
this is the bar that's set at right now. It's like try to beat that, and something almost beat it, but then it's just like nah, it's not going to be I Empire at that point.
That's
So
so fucking good. So that wraps up the album ranking portion of the episode. Uh, Before we continue, where would you guys rank the albums? Pause the video, go on social media, go in the comments, let us know where you guys would rank these albums. If you guys have already listened to all the Angels and Airwaves albums. So now we need to move on to our top 10 Angels and Airwaves songs. So this is where things might get a little different. Now, on my own time, I actually went ahead and listened to one of the EPs that they did back in 2016. Um, I need to go back and look it up because I already forgot the name of it. So I just want to let you know one of these songs from my list actually was from one of the EPs that they had done.
okay,
And the EP is called Chasing Shadows. It's 4 tracks long. It's very short. It came out in 2016. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to include it because it's really good. It's a really, really good song. And I'm like, why not? So let's hop into this, shall we? So at number 10, what do you have?
I have Flight of Apollo here.
Flight of Apollo. Remind me, what album is that?
I think that's from the Love album.
Oh, now I gotta go look.
And I know it's like I had to like throw curveballs in here somewhere.
So you said it's Flight of the Apollo.
Flight of Apollo, yeah.
Crap, this doesn't help me because it's like I gotta go to the actual album and go see.
Wait, wait.
Okay, so that's Love Part 1. That's
Okay,
the
yeah,
second track.
yeah.
So my number 10 actually comes from that EP I just mentioned. It's called Overload.
Okay. I haven't heard.
Overload's really good, and I'm gonna recommend you go listen to that on your own time. It's a really good song. The first place I heard it, believe it or not, was TikTok. Somebody had used it as an audio in one of their
Oh,
videos.
okay.
And I was like, ooh, okay, this must be from one of the EPs I was telling Dystro about. So I went ahead and listened to it, and I did the other 3 songs. I'm like, ooh, okay, so I really like this one. So I was like, fuck it, why not put it on the list? And
Right.
honestly, it's good. Sometimes you find your favorite songs just by looking through EPs. Now, for those music nerds out there who probably know or probably don't know, EPs are not considered studio albums. They're considered like mini little albums. Like think of it as like oh, what do you want to call it? Like you know those like SpongeBob episodes are like just like 2 minutes long. They're like a short.
Yeah, like very very short.
Yeah, like consider it like this. Consider an EP kind of like that. Just a short mini album, but it's not a studio album. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like its own little thing. It's not a
Hmm.
compilation album because a compilation album would be all songs that were released on studio albums compiled into one big album. That's a compilation album. But in terms of an EP, it's just a little mini album. So I really like this song, and I recommend you go listen to it later today's show. It's really, really good. I had to put it in my top 10.
I mean, right? As
So
you
what
should.
caught your eye about the flight of the Apollo?
I don't know. It's just like it's from Love Part One, correct?
Yes, it's the second track.
See, that's why I said that's why I had put like Love Part One at number 5 when we did the albums thing. It's because like yeah, like there was like maybe 2 or 3 songs from it that I liked, and one of them was this. Because I don't know. It was just I think it was just the I guess it was like the change in tone, I guess, or something. Because like Love Part One was like I don't how would you describe Love Part One? Like because it was like it was completely out of the ordinary. I
It
think.
was different. Like I said, I really didn't care for part one, but I do remember that song. Now that you mention it, I do remember that song. It's really good, honestly.
Yeah,
I just feel like if I heard it more, maybe it would go into top 10. But right now, it's not.
right. I mean I put it at number 10. It was just like it was like one of the songs that I thought Love Part One like had in there. Like that was my opinion toward to me.
It's one
But
that caught your eye.
yeah, it's like it caught my eye. Yeah. Now I will warn you, majority of my songs are from I Empire, by the way.
I got a little mix of everything because there are certain songs from other albums that I really enjoyed. Like this next one at number 9. I believe this one came from debut album with We Don't Need to Whisper. It's titled It Hurts.
Okay. Mine is from I Empire, and it's Rite of Spring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about that one?
I mean, it's like we said when we did the album ranking. I Empire is like one of the best selling albums of all time. It has some good hits on there too. There might be some sleeper ones hitting in hidden in the weaves in the leaves and stuff. And I think this one kind of caught my eye too, because like besides like secret crowds and call to arms and everything's magic and all that stuff. It's like rite of spring. I don't say rite of passage, rite of spring. Like it kind of like snuck under my radar the first time through, but I listened to it back again before we started recording, and I was like, wow, like I can't believe this went under my radar. So I had to put it in there. Like it was just like one of those like not no brainer things, but it was just like one of those like I can't believe it like snuck under my radar like the first time through.
That's
So I
kind of
just had to
like
put
me
it
with
in.
It Hurts. Like when we first heard it, I added it to the playlist that I have, but I didn't go
Mm-hmm.
back and listen to it for a while. But I recently did, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, that's really good." So I put it at number 9 just because it's really good. It comes from a good album. It's one of the few songs that like like when you do a pilgrimage, it's like there's just like moments where it's like, okay, I really don't feel like going back to any of the songs. Well, this one's like kind of a rare one where okay, I do want to go back to this one, give it another shot, and see what it's like. And I really enjoyed it the second time around, so I had to add it to the list.
Right.
So at number 8, what do you have?
I have Young London from Love Part One.
Wow. Okay. So my number 8 comes from Life Forms, and it's No More Guns.
Okay. I mean, it's good song.
I thought it was catchy. It's like da 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 da. Like it opens up with that,
Yeah.
and it just like I told you, Life Forms kind of has that kind of like poppy, like pep in your step kind of feel to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it just sounds like a fun album when they made it, and I really enjoyed it. And No More Guns really caught my eye when we did this album because this was our last album we did. This one really caught my eye, and there's like 2 other songs on this album that also caught my attention, but I think I only put one of the other ones on this. I did not put the other one. But No More Guns is really good.
Yeah. Also, I was gonna say you could probably use them as like honorable mentions too.
I
So
could. I could. So what do you think about your track?
I mean, that was like it was like one of those other ones that caught my eye too. Um, I I think like since it was like Flight of Apollo and then Young London and all that stuff, it's like those were the like only two like out of like the three or four that I was gonna mention in Love Part One that kind of like caught my eye. But everything else, I was like, I'm like, okay, like I thought it was all right, but then like everything else, like besides those three or four tracks, I was just like, okay, it's like it's just like such a letdown, like with Love Part One and Two, because it was just like, okay, there's not a lot of songs that we could have like really talked about, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was just like one of those like letdown moments, but at least made in the top 10 though. I
Oh
will
yeah.
say that. So
So at number 7, I have The Adventure from their debut album.
I have Heaven from I Empire.
Oh, okay. So, as I briefly mentioned in the album ranking half of this episode, I love The Adventure. I love that track. And I remember when I was talking to some Blink fans online, or even reading on Reddit, everyone always praises up The Adventure. That's like the big track for everybody. Like everybody loves that track. Like if you're an Angels and Airwaves fan, that has to be one of your favorite tracks. And I agree,
Mhm.
it's really really good. Obviously, it's not going to be super high for me because I have songs I really really prefer over this one, but I had to put this in the top 10 because it is good. I really like this track. It just makes you want to go on a little journey through all the Angels and Airwaves stuff, the ups and downs and everything. And in a sense, if you think about it, it's kind of cheesy. You think about it. This was the album we started with, so it was like Tom was welcoming us with open arms
Open arms.
into Angels and Airwaves and their madness. So honestly, it's fitting. It's very fitting, and I think that's the way I'm going to remember this song. So,
Mhm. That's
so
true. That's valid.
what do you got to say about Heaven from I Empire?
Like I'm not gonna lie, like I have 5 songs from that album on my top 10, mind you.
I think I do
So
too. Actually, how many do I have?
so
One, two. Actually, I don't.
you lie. No,
I lied.
but you're gonna be hearing a lot of I Empire stuff on this episode. Believe me, people. But like I'm not gonna be cheesy with Heaven. It's like it was actually like it was actually like pretty like calming and stuff because it's like yeah like you said like Tom's like opening us with welcoming us with like open arms and all that stuff, but then it's like that second album, like he's like okay, like this is what we're really all about on this album. And it was, no pun intended, but it was like basically it's just like a heavenly sounded like track to me in a way. um I mean, not all tracks are gonna be like that, but like I thought it was like very like how should I put it? It was very like soothing, I
Soothing.
guess.
Yeah, that's the word I was going to use right there.
Um, like see, like it's hard to come up with words now.
It's so
Uh,
good.
yeah, it's good. If I had to recommend one from like I Empire, I would say maybe Heaven and Secret Crowds, maybe. But like
Ooh,
that's just me. So
ooh, okay.
yeah,
So, speaking of I Empire, my number six, this brings me to my next point with Lifeline.
I put everything's magic.
Ooh, okay. Uh, Remind me, which one's that?
I Empire.
That's I Empire. Okay. So Lifeline was actually my second Angels and Airwaves song. I actually heard this one on TikTok. Uh, I follow a whole bunch of like pages that post like little clips of music videos from like the rock and roll days and stuff from then to now, and this was one of them. And I'm like, wait a minute, Angels and Airwaves, that's Tom's group.
Mhm.
So I looked into this song a little bit, and I really really enjoyed it. So obviously, I had to make the top 10. And this is the first I Empire track to make my top 10, so that's good to hear. Lifeline's just really, really good. It just kind of like sends a little bit of a message if you really listen in a little bit. It just sounds like Tom's preaching at this point.
It's like look at the lyrical content, and it's like you'll see why we say that too. Um, and plus, like Tom's like a he's like a master lyricist too.
Yeah, oh yes, he is.
Um, like with me with everything's magic, it's like I'm gonna say this like no pun intended, but it's like it was very magical. Blah blah blah. Like I think like the whole album as a whole, it's like it was like magic, like
It
because
was.
like like you said in like the album ranking part, it was like everything came together. The lineup was good, like everything was on point, and it's like they literally just made magic. Like no pun intended, but it was literally magic. Um, like majority of those songs from I Empire, like they would be on my top 10 list. Majority of them, and that's a bold statement to say. I know, but like there's like 5 songs from My Empire, and how many tracks are there on that album? Like 11, 12?
It's like something like that. On my list, I think I only have three from that album because it's mine's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, like there was like the two from Love Part One, and then like majority of them from like I Empire. That's how influential I Empire is.
It's really good, honestly.
But
Uh,
I will say that is a really good song.
Hell yeah. So, on to the top five. This is where things get a little sketchy. So, at number five, what do you have?
I have the War from We Don't Need to Whisper debut.
Oh, okay. I also have a track from that album for this one. I have Do It For Me Now.
Huh.
That song is sexy. That song is really good. Honestly, though, like, go read the lyrics. It's really good. Like, Tom's just, like, serenading people at this point. He went from
Oh
preaching to
Lord,
serenading. Like,
Lord, here we go.
that song's really good, though. Honestly, like we've been saying all along, those first two albums are solid. They're really, really good. Um, Honestly, if I had to recommend someone to listen to Angels and Airways, I'd say do the first two albums and maybe stop there. Maybe do Life Forms if you're really up to it, if you're up for the challenge. But
Yeah.
other than that, stick to the first two albums and then maybe try Life Forms later on. But Do It For Me Now is just really, really good. I think it's by far probably my favorite track from debut album.
Mm. That's a bold statement right there.
It's good. It really is. It's really good.
I think for me, like when we listened to debut the first time, I was like, okay. I was trying to like come up with some tracks in my mind. Like I was like, okay, and I think this one kind of snuck on my under my radar as well the first time through because I was like, okay. I remember some of the tracks and I was just like, okay, just listen to them again. I was like, okay. But then I listened to the War and I was like, oh, okay. This one kind of hits like like wholeheartedly. It like hit my soul sort of thing.
And that's good, that's good when music makes you feel like that. Like there's only a handful of groups or songs for that matter that make me feel that way. There is one on here. Actually maybe there's two on here that kind of give me that feeling. We'll work our way to them. So, at number four, this comes from the Dreamwalker album actually. This is my favorite Dreamwalker track, titled Mercenaries.
Mm, okay. I have Call to Arms from I Empire.
Okay. So, what do you have to say about that one?
Again, it's like I'm gonna keep saying it. It's like it's it kind of snuck under my radar first time through, but then I think like I kind of listened to it by myself a second time, and I was like, oh, I was like, okay, because like Secret Crowds is always on there. I mean, obviously, but like there were some other songs I was like, okay, like I didn't really care for this one, didn't really care for this one, but then when Call to Arms came up, I was like, oh, I had to put that, I had to put that on my list because it kind of like snuck up on me, like
That happens.
again, it like it snuck under my radar, and I was just like, okay, like I was like, I'll give it a pass, but then like I'll try to at least listen to it again just to see like what I feel for it. I was like, okay, I was like, all right, just like it's always good to like go back a second time just to like see what you missed out on, and then be like, okay, I'm glad I didn't. I gave it a second chance and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
So for me with Mercenaries, that was probably one of the only few tracks I like besides Teenagers and Rituals. That track's really good too. It's probably gonna be honorable mention right there. Mercenaries is really trippy. It's really, really good. It kind of takes
Mhm.
me back to the I Empire days. I'm gonna be honest. When I first heard it, that track is so freaking good. I've had it on my rotation for a little while now on my playlist. I've been listening to it, and every time I hear it, I grow a new love for it. It's just really fucking good, honestly.
Mhm.
It's kind of like the perfect song to listen to in the middle of the night, like when you're driving around and you see like the Northern Lights or something. Like that's like the perfect song to play, honest to God. And I can say that from experience because we just had a Northern Lights show here earlier on this month. So, yeah.
Lucky.
Lucky, lucky ducks. I know, right?
Okay, top
Top
three.
three. Here we go. All right, number three. What do you have?
I have Secret Crowds here.
Okay, I have a track from Lifeforms. This is Kiss and Tell.
I was gonna put Kiss and Tell. I was gonna put Kiss and Tell. Then I was like,
Oh my god. I
I
originally had this song at number nine. I kicked myself in the ass for that because I have been so hooked on this song for like the last 3 weeks now. Like, I didn't touch this list for like the last 3 weeks until about Sunday. I fixed my list up a little bit and I moved Kiss and Tell because I'm like, man, that's not a number nine. That's a number three. Like, that song is so good. Like, it's the perfect closing track to Life Forms, and it's the perfect way to end Angels and Airwaves. Like, it's so fucking good.
like
No,
wrapped it up
no,
with
don't you
like a nice
kiss
little
and tell.
bow.
Like, I fucking love that song. Oh, it's so good.
Like so, I will say this. I had a little disclaimer. Like I had a list that I had done like maybe a few minutes before our recording. I was like, nah, fuck it, and I just like ripped it and I did a whole new list. And I was like, because majority of the tracks that I remembered were from I Empire, and I was like, okay, I had to put the songs that I remembered on the top 10 lists. But then I was like, God, and then I had remembered the two songs from Love Part One, and then I remembered one song from Love Part Two, and then the two songs from debut album. So I was like, fuck it. And I was like, I was like, I hate when I do that because I'm like, I feel like I would be kicking myself in the ass if I did that. But I'll put Kiss and Tell as my honorable mention for this one.
Fucking Kiss and Tell is so good. I'm mad we haven't gotten to the music video yet on MTV Night, but we will.
We
And
will at some point.
I love that song so freaking much. Like, oh no, don't you kiss and tell. Like, it's just so catchy. Like, it's just the perfect way to end that album. It's the perfect way to end the pilgrimage. Like, we ended it on a high note, and I was very surprised we did because the middle albums weren't so good. But once we got to Life Forms, it's like, okay, this is really not bad. Like, this is good.
Right.
It brought back a sense of hope. So, Secret Crowds. I mean, come on, that song is good. I can see why you put it up there.
Yeah. I mean, and plus, like, majority of these songs I have not heard in a while, like ever since we had ended the pilgrimage and stuff either. So it was like I had to like have like, a little bit of a refresher for some of these. I was like, okay, and then I did like the randomizer thing that usually do, and I took like all the songs and I ended up having like the top 10 for my thing. I was like, okay, so I had to go back through all of them all over again, just to, like make sure, like, okay, like this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. And so I was just like, okay, I'm glad that I did that now instead of being like, okay, like just bullshitting my way through, be like, yeah, yeah, so, but yeah, Secret Crowds is like one of their like most popular songs off that album. I mean, why not? It had to be
It's so
number three
good.
or something.
Which is funny because that's my number two.
Okay. But my number two comes from Love Part Two, and it's Surrender.
Okay. So, briefly, I'll talk about Secret Crowds. You basically nailed it on the head. That song is a masterpiece. It's really, really good. As I mentioned previously, that's my first Angels and Airwaves song I ever came across. And so it has a very special spot in my heart. The music video is really good. And at this point, Tom's back to preaching. Like, it's just him preaching to us about, like, there's just a better life out there, and like let him take us there, like that kind of thing. Like, Tom could literally be a fucking preacher in a church
I can imagine him being a
while
preacher.
he's talking about fucking aliens, like UFOs, and aliens are real, Tom was right, like that kind of whole fucking spiel.
Like, all right, Pastor Tom, let's keep it go with the sermon here. Let's go.
Aliens are real.
Somebody get him out of here. For I think for me with Surrender, it was like the one song that I could remember liking from Love Part Two.
Plus, we got that for MTV Night like really recently too.
Yeah. So it was still fresh in my mind too. So
That's
I had to put
good.
and I had to put it at number two. So I was just like, I was like, I feel like I would be like doing myself a disservice if I didn't put it like kind of higher or anything. And plus, like, do with MTV Night and all that stuff like that too. I was like, okay, like it's still fresh in my head, and I still liked it, so I had to put it like high. I had to really put, I put it really high. I know, but it's like it's my list. It's like fuck it.
Right. So at number one, what do you have?
I'll let you go first on
So
this
my
one.
number one track comes from I Empire. This one really caught me by surprise when we first heard it, and it's titled Sirens.
Oh man. Okay, so no joke. Like when I first did my first draft of the thing, I had Kiss and Tell on there, and then I had Sirens on there as well. No joke.
Oh,
But then I was like, do I really do I really want to like do that? And I'm like, then that's why I had to like fuck it, and I just ripped it. And so for my number one, I did the Adventure from Debut.
hey, let's go. Let's go. That's even well, it's not even bad, but that's good. Like that's
It's
honestly
semi better.
good. That's good though. Like honestly, I wouldn't have picked a better song. That's cool. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly go over Sirens real quick. When I first heard this song with you, this song was like magic to me. Like it was one of those moments where it kind of like made my pupils grow wide, and I just fell in love. Like the guitar tone on that is so fucking nice. It's so good. And everything about that song just like it screams like a really fun time, like a really like magical fun time. It fits the whole vibe of that album perfectly. And you know, with Tom, he's always writing about a girl or some kind of romance or some kind of fucking creepy shit. Like you just don't know with him.
Yep.
And this song kind of gives off all three of those combined. It's just fucking great. I love that song. Definitely my highlight song of I Empire for sure.
Right, as you should.
So what do you think about the Empire or the Adventure from
What I think about the Empire?
I was
Oh
thinking I
man.
Empire. I was thinking I Empire. It's fucking. We don't need to whisper. That's right. Honestly, though, like there are some songs that I feel like belong on each
On I
other's
Empire.
albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like there's some songs that belong on each other's albums. That's why I get them so mixed up.
It's funny, like I wonder how like the song listing process was like, okay, we want this one on this one, but we want this one on this one. And it's like, what if we would just flip flop them? Sort of thing. That'd be kind of funny. I mean, the venture, like, it's I think this is just me being personal here. It's like I think like the adventure is like no pun intended. It is an adventure like when you listen to it lyrically and listen to like the tuning on like the guitar and the bass and the drums and Tom's vocals and stuff. It's like he's literally taking you onto an adventure.
Fuck
If you
yeah.
think about it, if you think about it, and if you look at the lyrical content and all that stuff, like it's always going to be about something. But it's like if if I was in Tom's mindset, it's like, oh yeah, like the adventure. It's like, yeah, we're gonna go adventure with some fucking aliens or something. Let's go, like. So it's like you gotta think about it in like Tom's shoes, but then you gotta think about it in like your own personal perspective as
Yeah.
well. And like you said with like I Empire and also it's like majority of the songs on that album is like it's like I feel like it's like I had said like with when we watched The Wall for the first time, it was like a literal roller coaster, like the ebbs and flows and the highs and the lows and all that stuff. Don't hit the player again, and uh, it was just like it was so like adventurous and it was like very eye opening to me. I don't know about a lot of other people, but I know like a lot of people say like they put like the adventure super high on their list, and I think it's rightfully so. And I believe that sentiment too. Like I put it really up high, um, because I thought it was like pretty kick ass too.
It was good.
Oh man.
So that wraps up the Angels and Airwaves part of this episode. We're gonna quickly run through Boxcar Racer and Plus 44 for you guys, just as a little bonus, so that way we can say that we have done all the Blink 182 side projects. So let's start off with Boxcar Racer. They only have one album from '02. It is self-titled. Um, actually, was it '02? I think it was '02. Yeah, because I just posted about it not too long ago because that album just had its anniversary.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that album. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Boxcar Racer, it's literally Tom and Travis and like I think there's like one other band member.
Yeah.
So it's literally 2/3 of Blink plus a member. So
Mm.
it's Tom's half, I guess we could call it, of the side project. Really, really good album though. I'm gonna be honest. I really loved it. It literally just sounds like Blink without Mark. However, the track Elevator has Mark on guest vocals. So it's literally a fucking Blink song.
Yeah.
And then you have fucking My First Punk Song. Oh my god.
I got no
Oh,
dick.
dick. Like
Like
that is so classic Tom
we were
DeLonge style.
we were like dying laughing after that song too. Like, and I even looked up the lyrics for it, and we were still laughing because it was just so like funny.
It was
I
just like
love the
so out of nowhere.
pocket. It was so out of pocket. Like, yeah, like it's like something like out of nowhere. I mean, like, and plus, like, I think it was like a good like little haha like break in the action sort of thing. And it's typical Blink at this point because they always have like the funny haha like songs
The dick
everywhere,
jokes, the fucking inappropriate jokes, like everything.
especially with One More Time and stuff that like they have like very fast songs and stuff, but there's some songs that are like funny as fuck.
Like Turpentine.
And fuck face and turn this off and all this
Oh
stuff.
god.
Um, I really enjoyed that album too. Um, I call it Tom's side of the divorce because like Travis is the only one that was playing both sides of the coin on this album.
Yeah, which leads me into the next point here with Plus 44. That had Mark and
Hmm.
Travis and one other band member. Now,
Two
this
other members.
album, yeah, you're right, actually. So I think this album came out
This came
after
out in
they
like
broke up.
'06.
Yeah, because when Boxcar Racer came out, they were still together. This was before Untitled came out. Untitled came out in '03 with Blink. This album, When Your Heart Stops Beating by Plus 44, the only album they've done, came out in around '06 or '05. So this was after the breakup. So a lot of these songs consisted of Mark basically trying to portray how he feels about the whole breakup with Blink, with Tom and stuff. I
Hmm.
remember you telling me that with at least one or two songs. There are a few serious songs here. There's some songs that are just really good to jam out to, like When Your Heart Stops Beating, the title track. Um, but that's like that album was good too, though. Honestly,
It was like I feel like this is just me though. I feel like with Boxcar Racer, it was like Tom's like telling like what he's going through with his side of the coin. But then you have Mark with plus 44, and it's like, like he's telling us his side of the story as well. If you think about it. Because like both have very solid points, and this is because like Boxcar Racer was like this was before the breakup, and then like with plus 44, it was like after. So, because like '02, this was like after Take Off Your Painted Jacket, and then before Untitled, and then '06 with plus 44, it was like what, like
after Untitled.
after
This
Untitled,
was after they. This is when they split for the first time.
and then yeah, and then like it was like after that, it was just like what else are they gonna do? And then like that's when like Tom does like Angels Airways in '06, the exact same year too. So it's like, plus the only innocent person in this is Travis. He's on both sides.
He had to go through a fucking plane crash, literally a couple
Yeah,
years later, and that's what brought Blink back together for a second time. Or excuse me,
yeah,
they break
second
up a
time.
second time, but They got back together and produced Neighborhoods, and then Dogs Eating Dogs shortly after, and then they break up again
For
a little bit, and then
a little bit.
Matt Skiba
Let's
comes
see
in.
what
You already know the whole spiel
Yeah.
about Blink. Um, so to quickly wrap this up, for me, I preferred the Boxcar Racer stuff over Plus 44. Just because I like that old classic Blink sound. Not knocking down Plus 44 at all. That group is amazing. That album is amazing. When Your Heart Stops Beating. But overall, I just prefer Boxcar Racer. I found it a little more enjoyable for me. But teach their own. What about you?
I feel like the Boxcar Racer one was like pretty good for me as well. Like Plus 44 had some like good hits on there, but like the main hit is like when your heart starts beating. But like with Boxcar, it's like it feels like more so like old school, like Blink, like take off your pants and jacket era sort of Blink. Um, but yeah, it was like the only song that, like you said, it was like with all three original members from Blink was Elevator, which I thought was kind of cool that, Mark came on and he was like, hey, I'll come on track, just come hang out. But yeah, I prefer the Boxcar Racer one, to be honest with you.
So, I leave the question with you guys. Which of the side projects do you prefer with Blink? Are you gonna stick with Angels and Airwaves, or are you gonna go for something like Boxcar Race or even Plus 44? Let us know in the comments or on social media. That officially wraps up our complete coverage of all the Blink side projects. So we hope you've enjoyed that. Our next episode, which will actually be my first episode by myself, starting our new chapter of this show, we are doing a random ranking episode. This is going to be kind of cool because this is another ACDC episode. And we're still going to do things like we usually would. Just instead of Dystro reading off his list, I will read off his list when I do mine as well. So these are the 10 songs up for grabs. Going from 1 to 10, we have You Shook Me All Night Long, Skies on Fire, Decibel, Night Prowler, Back in Black, Stiff Upper Lip, Systems Down, Go Zone, Stand Up, and rounding out the 10, Nick of Time. So, as I mentioned already, Dystro will have his rankings ready to go. I'll have mine. He will send his to me a night or two before, and I will read them off to you guys as I'm reading off mine, and I'll try to talk about how he feels and how I feel about each song. Because I pretty much know how Dystro feels about a good chunk of ACDC songs just by the fact that we literally spent 18 weeks listening to ACDC nonstop.
That's fucking crazy to think about.
Yeah, so that'll be on Sunday. That'll be this Sunday coming up. That'll start off my episodes. So, as I mentioned before, my episodes will be on Sundays, his will be on Thursdays. So, every Sunday, you guys will catch me doing my thing, and on Thursdays, you'll catch Dice for doing his thing. So, best of both worlds. I'm very, very nervous, but very excited to start this new chapter of the show. I think it's going to go great. Just need some time to adjust, but I think we'll be fine. That's nothing that we can't handle. We're just two podcast hosts. We might not be working together on the show, but off screen we are. We are still working together. We're still taking notes. We're still passing notes back and forth. We're still making this show work, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not letting this show die.
Because like I said at the top of the episode, it's like we invested so much time and blood, sweat, and tears into this, and it's like we do not want it to stop. Because like it was a side hobby that we both wanted to do in our free time. But now it's like it's kind of like grown into this like thing that we've been doing for 2 years
It's something
plus
we've
more.
grown passionate about.
Yeah, and plus like one of our main goals is to be podcast hosts at some point. But it's better late than never, sort of thing. So
Yeah, I want to run my own radio show and have you on there and like have our own little radio show on FM or even Sirius XM for that matter. Because I know Sirius XM's like a huge thing now to a lot of people.
yeah.
But either FM radio or Sirius XM, like I want to be on one or the other, if not both. So that's the dream, and I hope we can make it there, pal.
Mm.
So speaking of you, you have tonight's song of the night. So what did you choose?
So I'm gonna probably stick with the Angels Airwaves train here. Um, Is there a video for the adventure? Yes, there is.
Yes, there
Okay.
is.
So I'm gonna. I was like, duh. So I'm gonna go with the adventure from debut album.
Freaking perfect. So, The Adventure from Angels and Airwaves. If you guys would like to take a listen to that, I will leave a link at the top right hand corner of this episode. At the very end, it'll pop up. There's a music video, as we just mentioned. Go ahead and watch it in all its glory. So, if you guys stuck around to the very end, we greatly appreciate your support. Be sure to go on ahead and follow us on social media by clicking on that link in the description below, which will take you to Linktree. We have Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter. Go on ahead and follow us there to keep up to date with the show. Also, Dystro's YouTube channel is there as well, where he uploads weekly gaming content and memes as well. We're supposed to get you to 1,400 subscribers by June 1st. What are you at the moment?
I'm at 1,378 right now.
Okay. So, well,
It's probably not gonna happen, but
probably
hey,
not likely to happen, but it's okay. We can always hope for even middle or end of June at this rate, but let's get you to 1,400 anyways.
yeah.
So, as I mentioned, weekly gaming content, weekly memes. If you're looking for something to pick you up, something to make you laugh, go watch his stuff. Go subscribe to him, please. Do me a huge favor. Once again, take a listen to tonight's song of the night, The Adventure by Angels and Airwaves, and that is it, my friends. Thank you guys for listening, and I, myself, will catch you on Sunday in June, and Daisha will catch you guys on June 6th in June. So, peace!
Peace.